本日は東日本大震災追悼復興記念式にお越しいただきまして誠にありがとうございます。開会は2時30分を予定しております。どうぞしばらくお待ちください。ここでご来場の皆様にお願いを申し上げます。マスクの着用など新型コロナウイルス感染症対策の徹底をお願いいたします。式典中は報道及び関係者を除き撮影、録画、録音並びに機材の持ち込みは禁止とさせていただいております。携帯電話をお持ちの方は電源をお切りいただくかマナーモードに設定いただき、通話はお控えください。ご来場の皆様にご案内申し上げます。東日本大震災追悼復興記念式はまもなく開会となります。ご着席の上お待ちください。繰り返しご案内申し上げます。東日本大震災追悼復興記念式はまもなく開会となります。ご着席の上お待ちくださいませ。 皆様、本日は東日本大震災追悼復興記念式にご参列いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。私は本日司会を務めさせていただきます。三好理香と申します。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。まずはじめにステージ上の祭壇を紹介させていただきます。祭壇は浪江産のフリージア、須賀川産の会津産のストックを使用しており、標柱にも福島県産の杉を使用しております。続きまして、本日のプログラムを簡単にご紹介させていただきます。まず、開式の辞として、福島県市長会副会長である室井翔平会津若松市長よりご挨拶いただきます。続いて、東京国立劇場にて行われます政府主催の東日本大震災10周年追悼式の中継映像をご覧いただきます。この追悼式の進行に合わせまして、会場の皆様にも国歌演奏、黙祷にご協力いただきたいと存じます。菅義偉内閣総理大臣の式辞、天皇陛下のお言葉までご覧いただき、中継終了となります。引き続き、こちらの会場で内堀正夫福島県知事の式辞、太田光明福島県議会長の追悼の辞、ご遺族代表の言葉と続きます。その後、内堀福島県知事をはじめとする主催者、来賓の皆様による代表者献花、福島大学附属小学校合唱部の皆さんによります検証と続きます。その後、福島県立双葉未来学園高等学校2年、正井優香さんによる司会の言葉、そして内堀正夫福島県知事のメッセージと続き、福島県町村会長である佐藤純一番台町長による定式の辞をもって東日本大震災追悼復興記念式が閉式となります。
Fukushima Profitability
式の
Sanitizers
終了は
Association.
3時50分
The
頃
schedule
を
to
予
end
定
the
しており
ceremony
ます。
around 3:50.
その後、
After
ご
that,
参列
the
の皆様に
participants
も
in
献
this
花いた
at
だ
the
けます。
venue can offer flowers.
以上が本日のプログラム
These
と
are
なりま
today's
す。
program.
また、本日
And
は
today,
5時30分よ
from
り
5:30,
福島駅東口駅
in the
前広
east
場におき
at
ま
the
して、
side of that
キャンドルナイト
Fukushima
を開
Station
催いたし
Square,
ます。
we're going to have the candle night.
お時間がございましたら、
If you have
こ
time,
ちらへも
please
足を
visit
お
the
運びい
site.
ただければと存じます。それでは、これより東日本大震
On
災
behalf of
追
the
悼
memorial
復
ceremony
興記
marking
念
the
式
10th
を執
anniversary
り
of the
行い
Great
ます。
East Japan earthquake.
開式の辞、
Opening address.
室井翔平
Shohei
福
Moroi,
島県市長
the
会副
Vice
会長
Chairperson of the
ご登壇
Fukushima
願い
Prefecture
ま
Mayor
す。
Association, please.
ただいまより
From
東
now
日
on,
本大震災
we are going to
復興
hold
追
the
悼記
memorial
念式
ceremony
を開式
marking
い
the
たし
10th
ます。
anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake.
ここからは
From
東
here,
京国立
we
劇場
have
に
the
て行わ
relay
れます
broadcast of
政
the
府主
memorial
催
ceremony marking the
東日
10th
本大震
anniversary of the
災
Great
10
East
周
Japan
年追
earthquake
悼式
at
と
the National
中継
Theatre
を
organized
結び
by
ま
the
す。
national government. In the
国
ceremony,
歌演奏
we're
お
going
よ
to have
び
that
黙祷が予定さ
national
れておりま
anthem
すので、
singing and
会
also
場
the
の皆
offering
様に
silent
は
prayer.
中継映像
So
の
I'd
進
like
行に合わ
that
せ
the
てご
participant
協
in
力
this
いただき
venue
たいと
to
存じます。
cooperate along with the ceremony.
それではお時
So
間ま
please wait
で
for some
ご
time,
着席
being
のま
seated.
ましばらくお待ちくださいませ。お待たせいたしました。これより
Thank you very much for waiting. From now on, we'd like to get connected live with the government, the Japanese government memorial service, marking the 10th anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake. This year's ceremony took into account the prevention of COVID-19, so we have cut back the number of attendees So bereaved families and their diplomats and government representatives, about 220 of them, have been invited. In the center, the Great East Japan earthquake, we have a pillar. And later on, at 2:46 p.m., with all the attendees, we'd like to offer silent prayer. Very soon, Their Majesties, the Emperor and the Empress, will be joining us. Their Majesties, the Emperor and the Empress, have come into the stage. This is the first time for them to attend this session. Their Majesties, right after the earthquake occurred, they have visited the infected regions again and again. Especially tsunami hit area, coastal areas, they have visited to encourage the people affected by the earthquake and the tsunami. And the memorial service later on, His Majesty the Emperor will give us an address. Please take a seat. The opening remarks. Chief Cabinet Secretary Katsunobu Kato. Chief Cabinet Secretary Mr. Kato will give us some opening remarks. From now on, we'd like to hold the government's memorial service marking the 10th anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake. Around the station poles, different flowers from Iwate and from Fukushima and Sendai. So there are different flowers. This flower shows the hopes for the future. So now, here is a national anthem. So because of the COVID-19, please refrain from singing and please stand up.
ご起立ください。
Now, we'd like to move on to the next one. By the Great East Japan earthquake, there are victims, and they will be offering a silent prayer for them. So it will be soon 2:46 when the March 11 occurred. The victims and missing people and the people who died because of the war in relation, at least we have 22,200 of them, including related with death. So here around the station 4, in order to show our condolences, at 2:46 p.m., we'd like to offer a silent prayer. Please take a seat. This is the end of the prayer. The address, Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. Here is the remarks by Prime Minister. Today, in the gracious presence of Their Majesties the Emperor and the Empress, for the Great East Japan earthquake, the 10th anniversary memorial service is now taking place. And on behalf of the Japanese government, I'd like to share my condolences. And many precious lives were claimed, and around Tohoku area, unprecedented damages occurred in this incident, and since then, 10 years have passed. Beloved families and relatives and friends were lost by many people. In view of those people, I still feel deep sorrow. Once again, I'd like to share my heartfelt condolences. And to the people who are affected, all the people, I'd like to once again share my deepest sympathy. 10 years have passed since March 11, and the recovery of the affected regions have a steady progress. The earthquake and tsunami affected areas. In these areas, towards the reconstruction of living areas is almost in a final stage of reconstruction. And because of the nuclear accident, there was a big damage. And around the affected region in Fukushima last year, excluding difficult to return areas, all the areas have lifted evacuation orders. At the same time, in difficult to return areas for the first time, in some areas there was a lifting of the evacuation orders. So for recovery and reconstruction, we have a steady progress. On the other hand, still 2,000 people, are forced to leave evacuation centers or in temporary housings for a long period of time. They are living with restrictions in affected regions. Mental care and such challenges still pursue. At the same time, 2 years ago, there was a 19th typhoon. And since last year, we have had a COVID-19. And following the pandemic, we had a major earthquake. So people are inflicted with various challenges, especially because of the pandemic. The people in the regions, their livings, livelihoods, and industries and businesses were given a serious toll. As for the government of Japan, we'd like to do everything that we can to contain the virus, and for reconstruction of the people, depending on stages, we'd like to provide seamless support. Mid-term, long-term support is expected for the areas which were affected by the nuclear accident. So the living environment and businesses and livelihoods recovery support will be done in a steady manner. And in the second reconstruction rehabilitation period, Fukushima's recovery and for Tohoku's recovery, we'd like to do the utmost. And because of the earthquake, major sacrifices were given. So therefore, based on the lesson learned, we have to keep learning and use such learnings. So disaster reduction and disaster prevention will be reviewed in a constant manner on many different fronts. We'd like to put resilience into our nation so that our nation can be resilient against natural disasters. And since the onset or the occurrence of March 11, the people in regions and all the different people have given us really serious and hard efforts. And against such a backdrop, we were able to have a progress towards reconstruction. And from different parts of the world and different regions, we were given a warm support. And I'd like to give my heartfelt appreciation and respect. Lesson learned from the March 11 and our insights regarding disaster prevention and technologies, they need to be leveraged for the disaster prevention around the world. That is our responsibility, and we'd like to make sure that we contribute internationally on the front of disaster reduction. We'd like to renew our efforts. So after containing COVID-19, as soon as possible, we'd like to have a vibrant and fabulous future. Time and time again, we were inflicted by natural calamities, and each individual time, with courage and hopes, we tried to overcome such challenges. So we'd like to learn from forebearers, and we'd like to work together hand in hand, and we want to have a steady progress. I'd like to wish for the reports of the souls of the victims, and I'd like to wish for the peace of the bereaved families. And with that, I'd like to conclude my remarks. 2021, March 11, Yoshihide Suga. So that was Prime Minister's address. In Chiyoda Ward, this is the live streaming from Chiyoda Ward National Theatre. His Majesty the Emperor will give us some remarks. The Emperor's address. The Great East Japan earthquake happened 10 years ago, and here, together with everyone here, the victims of March 11 and for their bereaved families, I'd like to share my sincere condolences. And today, 10 years ago, we were hit by a mega earthquake in Great East Japan earthquake, and 20,000 or more people were killed and still missing. And because of the earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear accident occurred, and because of this, a large number of people are forced to live in evacuation shelters and temporary housing. And the size of this earthquake is never fades away from our mind. And 10 years have passed since then. A large number of victims and afflicted people helped each other and went through many challenges. The national government and local governments, more than 160 countries and regions, and a large number of international institutions and great number of volunteers, home and abroad. On many different fronts, they gave us great efforts for supporting those people. Together with the Empress, I visited all the afflicted regions, and with the efforts of stakeholders and the local people, we were able to have and observe this recovery. And so far towards reconstruction, there are many people who tried to make efforts and progress, and I'd like to share my respect, deepest respect. On the other hand, in the disaster regions, there are still pursuing challenges. Even with the progress of reconstruction in newly built communities, people-to-people bonds need to be restored, and we have a lot of challenges with that. Families and friends and loved ones were lost because of the earthquake, and their livelihoods and their jobs were lost, and they were torn apart from the region, so their livelihoods and lives have changed completely, and they are so much infected, and I'm in deep sorrow. And because of the nuclear accidents impact, people still cannot come back to their hometowns, and such recovery has just started. And for agriculture industry and the fisheries industry, there are still reputational damages remaining. For the elderly and kids, including those people, all the affected people, their scars in their minds have to be healed, and we have to mentally and physically support them. Going forward, with these challenges, people should never be left alone, left behind, and as soon as possible, peaceful lives should be restored. And the path toward reconstruction has to bear fruits. And in this regard, we need to join our hands so that the affected people by the earthquake, we have to stay close to them. Together with the Empress, I'd like to continue to make sure that we listen to the voices of those victims and affected people. Last month, magnitude 7 or larger earthquake took place near Fukushima coast. And to the affected people by the disaster, I'd like to share my sympathy. This is considered as an aftershock of March 11, so therefore, this earthquake should never be forgotten or shouldn't be treated as a thing in the past. This is still continuing disaster. Looking back on the history of Japan, we were affected by mega earthquakes and natural disasters time and time again. So the people who encountered the past calamities passed on to the current generations very precious records. And we have sacrifices and lessons learned from March 11. We should never forget about them. And we have to keep telling such a story to the future generations. And experiences and lessons learned, we should never forget about it. And we have to be always ready for another natural disaster. We have to use such lessons learned, and we have to create resilient country. That's my greatest hope. Still, on many different fronts, people are challenged. However, people try to overcome such challenges with relentless efforts. And I'm hoping that the peaceful lives come back as soon as possible. That is the hope that I have together with you. And I'd like to conclude my remarks for the reports of the souls of the victims with this. This concludes the government memorial ceremony marking the 10th anniversary of the Great East Japan earthquake.
Ceremony address. Tamasa Uchibori, the governor of Fukushima Prefecture. Today, here, in holding the Fukushima Prefecture Memorial Ceremony of the Great East Japan earthquake, with the citizen of Fukushima, I offer my heartfelt condolences to the souls of the victims and the bereaved families. On March 11, 2011, unprecedented disaster combined by a big earthquake and huge tsunami and a nuclear power plant accident deprived more than 4,000 precious lives and cast dark shadows over the peaceful lives of the people. What we lost was too much, and we were not able to see the future. Under such circumstances, we pledged to move forward to regain the ordinary life and pride of beautiful and calm Fukushima. It's 10 years since that day. During that time, with the effort of the Fukushima people and the warm support at home and abroad, a broad area decontamination, excluding difficult returned area, was completed, and more evacuation orders were lifted. A social infrastructure has prepared, and new industry has emerged. Fukushima reconstruction is steadily progressing. On the other hand, many Fukushima people still continue to live in evacuation. We have the challenges left, including recovery evacuation area, decommissioning and decontaminated water countermeasures, and a nuclear power plant, and the reputation damages. In addition, Fukushima has many difficult issues. East Japan typhoon disaster in 2019 causing damage in wide area in Fukushima, and COVID-19 that greatly changed our daily lives, and the earthquake whose that epicenter was off the coast of Fukushima last month, that reminded that memory 10 years ago. From next month, the second reconstruction and revitalization plan would start. We solemnly promised in front of the soul who were victims of the disaster to continue to make effort without giving up and not succumb to the repeated disaster, to further shine the light of reconstruction and work at Fukushima's rosy future with Fukushima citizens and those who support Fukushima at home and abroad. In conclusion, I again pray for the repose of the souls forever and ask for the divine protection of the bereaved families and the future of Fukushima. Eulogy. Mitsuaki Ota, Chairperson, the Fukushima Prefecture Assembly. in holding the memorial ceremony of the Great East Japan Earthquake today, I offer my word of deepest condolences. The unprecedented Great East Japan Earthquake and nuclear power station accident occurred, and many precious lives and our peaceful lives were lost in an instant. It's 10 years since that day. I express my condolences to the victims and send my sympathies to the bereaved families who have lost their loved ones from my heart. Even after the 10 years after the disaster in Fukushima Prefecture, many Fukushima people still continue their evacuation lives. We have various issues to overcome, including the recovery of the evacuation areas, reconstruction of the industry and economy, and the problem of the reputation damage. In addition, we had East Japan typhoon that hit Fukushima the year before our last, and COVID-19 that dramatically changed our daily lives. Last month, earthquake off the coast of Fukushima with maximum 6 strong on the Japanese seismic scales. Prefecture faced frequent difficulty in the process of reconstruction. Despite such numerous difficulties, people of Fukushima, with thought to the souls, love for the hometowns, and the strong will to complete the reconstruction, have helped and supported with others, and made efforts for recovery and reconstruction. With your strenuous efforts step by step, development of reconstruction has become visible. Evacuation that orders were lifted in some areas. Movement for return has progressed. Infrastructure has been prepared, and the Fukushima Innovation Coast Initiative has specified. Although Fukushima reconstruction is halfway, with the disaster as a valuable experiences, along with the thought of the disaster victims and the gratitude to the people all over the world, we firmly placed that all the Fukushima residents in unity would achieve that reconstruction that can be proud of in the world, and to construct that abundant and beautiful our home Fukushima. Lastly, I pray for the repose of the deceased forever and the peace and calmness of the bereaved families.
Words of the representative of bereaved families on behalf of the bereaved families, Ms. Ekuko Tamura, please come onto the stage. "10 years have passed since the incident which claimed so many lives all at once like a nightmare. I was with Misaki, my second daughter, who happened to be at home on a high school holiday, and grandpa, who returned from a dentist, and grandma, who was working in a field, and a daddy, who returned home from work. I lost these four loved ones through the big tsunami. On that day, I observed at an evacuation center an unbelievable tsunami swashing away the whole town, praying for everyone's safety and worrying that they might have been swept up by the tsunami. I spent a sleepless night. For many days, I wandered and searched for the remains of my family, and 3 days after the tsunami, I was able to meet Misaki's remains and the ones of Glamour and Daddy. I was relieved to finally find my family, but I wondered in frustration why they hadn't evacuated any sooner. I had so vexed and mixed feelings. Grandpa is still missing. Each and one of the lives lost by the incident was so precious, and I have lots of memories about them. Misaki, you loved cooking and baked a cake on my birthday. On the day of the earthquake, Glamour was washing vegetables, which she picked. Glamour, I miss your pickles. Daddy said thank you many times on the 30th wedding anniversary. As he normally doesn't say so, it is still ringing in my ears. Grandpa, are you still alive somewhere doing bonsai? I'm waiting for you, so please come home soon. 10 years have passed since the earthquake, the tsunami, and the nuclear accident. My sadness and the pains of losing my most loved family have never faded away. As a bereaved family, we must look ahead and go on with such feelings. But we shouldn't forget about the memories of the earthquake, and we shouldn't let people forget about it. We need to pass a lesson learned to the future generation so that natural disasters shouldn't result in a tragedy. Underlying the importance of the earliest possible evacuation, telling such a story will in turn bring the largest relief to the victims. I hope they are watching us from the sky. Lastly, I'd like to thank people who have engaged in searching operations and activities from right after the earthquake. To conclude my remarks, I'd like to pray for the reports of the victims' souls and pray for well-being and happiness of those in attendance from the bottom of my heart. 2021 March 11th, bereaved family representative Ekuko Tamura. Now we'd like to move on to offer of flowers by representatives. I will call out your names, so please offer flowers. Mr. Uchibori Masao, Fukushima Governor, please come onto the stage. Mr. Ota Mitsuaki, the chairman of the Fukushima Prefecture Assembly, please proceed. Mr. Muroi Shohei, the vice chair of the Fukushima Prefectural Mayors Association, please come onto the stage. Mr. Sato Junichi, the Fukushima Town and Village Mayors Association's chairman, please proceed. On behalf of bereaved families, Ms. Tamura Ekuko, please proceed. Next, this is followed by floral tribute made by lawmakers. I will call out your name, so please take turns and come onto the stage. The Great East Japan Earthquake, the Lower House, the Recovery Special Commission Committee Chair, Mr. Nemoto Takumi. The Lower House member, Genba Koichiro. Upper House Member Mr. Mashiko Teruhiko. Upper House Member Mr. Wakamatsu Kaneshige. The Upper House Member Ms. Mori Masako. The lower House Member Ms. Kaneko Emi. The lower House Member Mr. Oguma Shinji. The lower House Member Mr. Kanke Ichiro. The Upper House Member Mr. Iwabuchi Usugi Kentaro. The lower House Member, excuse me.
And next, we offer songs. It provided by the National Fukushima University Affiliated Elementary School Chorus. Today, 20 people on the 4th and 5th and 6th graders are going to sing. The first tune is Kimi no Sora, Kimi no Niji, means your sky and your rainbow. The message is that reconstruction in the future that people imagine is different according to the situation. It doesn't matter. Let's move on to own future respectively. And the second tune is that the Mizuno Uta, the song of water from the chorus suit, amidst Uta at the song of the rain and soul. This is a very important tune. The year before last, the chorus sang it for the first time when they played with the orchestra and felt the pleasure of bringing the singing voices again. The chorus had the deep attachment to the tune. The two-part chorus told the message that the people thought and the lives will be taken over. National Fukushima Municipal Affiliate Elementary School Choir, thank you very much for your songs. The words of pledge by Yuka Masai, the 8th grade of the Fukushima Prefecture at the Futaba Mirai Gakuen High School. I was the 1st grade of elementary school and clearly remember that at the moment earthquake occurred. It's 10 years since the earthquake, and the memory of evacuation is weakening. But what I felt in my left memory is not the hardness, but the warmth of the people. At the time, I didn't understand the situation, including nuclear plant accident made us unable to return home. But in evacuation, I really feel the people of all the Japan supported us. We received support goods of the study with people who were evacuated. I'd like to convey my gratitude again. Thank you very much. 3 years ago, we were able to return our hometown Naraha at last. After that, I got interviewed sometimes, but I was bewildered when I was asked what of the hardest. Because I have not lost anyone in tsunami, nor be bullied at the new school. But I assume the mass media want me to talk about such hardship and was not able to talk, feeling my hardship experience is very small. Comparing what was lost in hardship could hurt the person. Haven't we done or said something that hurt someone with invisible scar? I feel such comparison is seen daily, including the prejudice to socially weak person, not limited in disaster. We don't want sympathy. We just hope that what we experienced or understand and not repeat the same mistake again. Do you think it's already 10 years since the Great East Japan earthquake, or still 10 years? How many people turned the disaster from the own matters to the others in 10 years? Last month, there was an earthquake 6 strong on the Japanese seismic scale. How many people took action remembering it 10 years ago? I heard many voices that they remember that the March 11. I myself recall that the fear on that day. But I was 7 at the time, but I am 17. I considered disaster as my own matter and understood what had happened and faced it. So this time, I made that judgment with composure and took action. Fukushima still has a lot of challenges. The adults have their own responsibilities, and we have our own responsibilities to lead the future. We cannot retake what we lost in a short time. We have to lead a life to regain what we've lost. I want to make the future that affected people and those who made every effort for the reconstruction would not suffer from the prejudice, and the future society to understand other people's pain and support them. I pledge to take a serious step for the future to meet the responsibility. Thank you, Yuka Masai.
Now, this is followed by the governor's message. He will talk about the current state of Fukushima and his determination towards reconstruction. On behalf of Fukushima people, the governor will deliver his message to people inside and outside of the prefecture. Mr. Shibori, the floor is yours. "10 years have passed since then. The earthquake, the tsunami, and The nuclear accident completely changed our beautiful and peaceful hometown. Losses of loved ones and fight against invisible radiation pursued. Children he evacuated and went to temporary school buildings have now become adults. On the other hand, there are still those who are still missing, whose bodies and souls cannot return home. In view of the passing of time, we wonder 10 years were long enough or short enough. We were fighting for the first time the first visit to Tun in the summer of 10 years old, and the first summer when I tell my memories to my daughter. We were fighting against the division of regional societies, reputational damages, discrimination, and prejudice over the last 10 years. Now in 2021, the world is inflicted by invisible virus. Freedom and warmth were lost. Anxiety and stuffiness have hit us. Not only Fukushima, but also the whole world is facing this calamity. Just like what happened 10 years ago, the normal is no longer the normal. We are renewing our thoughts over our real priorities in life. We couldn't grab hands of those being swashed away by the wave. We couldn't save them. So this time, let's tightly hold hands of those being divided and left from the society. Never let them go. So I wish for the world where people can love each other and themselves, and I want to be that way. From darkness, a step after another, we started working towards reconstruction. Areas with evacuation orders were cut to one fifth. Roads and railways restarted, as well as schools and hospitals. People came back step by step. Robot and renewables research centers were constructed. Japanese sake, fruits, and other Fukushima products drew high recognition. We are regaining our pride. In the meantime, we will still have more than 30,000 evacuees and those suffering from unhealed scars. As recovery moves forward, we have more regional gaps on the device and people inflicted with sorted. As time passes, memories and attention has faded. A long path towards decommissioning work has just kicked off. 10 years on, the reality is we have a stronger contrast between light and shadow. Still in Fukushima's recovery trajectory, we have become stronger and grown, and we have strong bonds. There were encounters and collaboration with people whom we've never met without the earthquake. I truly appreciate contribution and support of those who stay close to us and their relentless support. Now that 10 years have passed since March 11, new coronavirus pandemic is hampering our path. The Olympics, which were supposed to be a key milestone and a field of dream for people, and a Koshien High School Baseball Championship and chorus contests have been either postponed or cancelled. Even with discouraged hearts, young people rise up time and time again, telling themselves, chins up, and there are many more things that we can do. Let's do what we can do now. We have enterprises trying to create new jobs and innovation in regions. We have producers gathering wisdom to fight against reputation damages, and we have migrants bearing the work of reconstruction, and those challenging a number of issues. We are seeing a ray of hopes with such challengers with pride and integrity. We want to bring such people, such hopes to people suffering around the world. With people still not coming back, the 10th year is still not a milestone. But my heart is filled with deep emotion as I was able to spend my New Year's Day in my hometown. It was my first step. I wish I could play in the ocean again. I wish I could harvest vegetables in my field. I wish my family could be reunited. I wish if I could meet my friends in hometown. From the elderly to children, there are many ways of rebuilding their lives, supporting each other, taking a path towards the future. We let having joys and happiness. These are the reconstruction which we aim to achieve. Once in a millennium great earthquake and the accident are being overcome, our heart must be strong, should be very strong. Around the world, there are people cheering us up. Still now, to express our gratitude to those people, we will keep telling our own stories. The Great East Japan earthquake and a nuclear disaster memorial museum was opened. For new generations without the knowledge of the earthquake, let us talk about the facts of the disaster and path towards reconstruction. But we will not only talk about the past, but we will also talk about what's happening right now and in the future in Fukushima. Towards the future, we will start our path towards the next decade. I will renew my pledge for recovering beautiful hometowns and building vibrant Fukushima with lots of smiles. Let's build Fukushima together. In that way, new generations will be proud of their hometowns. March 11, 2021, Fukushima Governor Uchibori Masao.
Closing address by the Junichi Sato, a chairperson, Fukushima Prefecture Village and the Towns Association. Now we close the memorial ceremony of the Great Eastern Earthquake. Thank you very much for participating. That is the end of that memorial ceremony of the Great Eastern Earthquake. And we ask that the participant to await seated to offer flowers upon the preparation. And also that we ask that those who have offered flower already to lead that at the venue, please here. Now we are preparing for that offering flowers. Upon preparation, we ask that the participant to offer flowers. Please wait for a while. And at 5:30, we are going to have the candlelight at the station, at the Fukushima Station Square in the east. If you have time, please visit the candlelight. Thank you very much for your participation.